Hi, this is the 7th session in our discussion of critical theory. As we discussed last session, liberalism and liberal governance has been increasingly sidelined over the last 20 years or so to governance by critical theory because of 5 broad trends. 1. The environment of near continuous national crisis. 2. Emerging and arguably accelerating borderless existential threats. 3. The globalization of many of the levers of economies. 4. Human migration on a scale of numbers and distances that matches or exceeds human migration at any time in our written and prehistoric history. And 5. Computers, networks, and information technology. These 5 trends have tended to reduce the apparent effectiveness of governments at all levels and have accelerated the pace of change in all facets of life, such that the strength of liberal governance, protecting the rights of individuals and communities to govern themselves, is at odds with the need expressed by many in and out of government to respond more quickly to threatening changes. Recent information technology and artificial intelligence technology advances may further amplify this perceived weakness of liberal governance. A possible additional compounding factor impacting the perceived efficacy of liberal governance resulting from the human migration trends stems from the cultural history of liberalism in the first place. See, the concepts of liberal governance developed largely from English and Western European reaction to their own history. That history is woven into the culture and traditions of those areas and derivatively into the warp and weave of governance in the United States and Canada. The implication may be that people from cultures that do not share that English and Western European history may not share the influence of that history on their governance philosophy. People with ancestors from regions other than England, Western Europe, the United States, or Canada prior to 1960 may not be culturally drawn to liberal governance even though they themselves migrated to those areas because of the perceived fruits of liberal governance. Liberal governance models may simply not be attractive to the increasingly diverse populations of Canada, the United States, England, and Western Europe. The demise of civics education in the United States since the 1960s has potentially deepened this rift. While this conclusion may sound culturally tone-deaf, it is not intended to be anything other than a recognition of the strong role culture plays in political philosophy. You see, the great experiment of our constitutional democracy in the United States over the past 200 years has, in my opinion, been our effort to extend English and European liberalism to larger and more diverse segments of the global population. And we may be seeing the failure of that experiment unfolding before us. Finally, I opine that the above trends have also been largely beyond the ability of national governments, state governments, or individuals to easily control. This is confounding. And I believe this uncontrollability tends to accelerate the move to critical theory and the accompanying emerging autocracy, absent a focused and exceptional effort in the past and for the foreseeable future to avoid that shift. That type of effort has not been made by either the left or the right. Rather, for reasons that I cannot begin to theorize, the left and the right have been at least unmindful of the shift, or at worst complicit in the shift toward autocracy. There are players today on the right who seem to have recognized the shift and who are quite capable of exploiting the opportunity presented to move us toward oligarchy. However, in my opinion, President Biden's warning about the threat of the emerging oligarchy is self-serving and too little too late. See, any shift toward oligarchy on the right seems to be simply a reaction to the left's shift toward bureaucracy. We will finish up our review and discussion of liberalism next session.